superficial now, but you got a soul to say. I just been cooking that new. I'm about to drop in a few. Think if I call it the great, the people gon' call it the truth.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, brothers and sisters. Once again, we back. Straight words. We're Brother Richard Nabab Muhammad. He is the editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper. He's out tonight. Yours truly, Brother B.J. Murphy, is here. And, of course, contributing editor to the Final Call newspaper, our big brother, Brother James G. Muhammad, is here. Assalamu alaikum, Brother James G. How you doing, sir?
Wa alaikum salam, Brother B.J., man. I am blessed and I am highly favored, as we say. How about yourself?
That's right, brother. Brother, I'm doing wonderful, brother. It's good to be alive. We're on top of the ground. We got another shot at it. And everybody in the
words
city of
right out of my
Chicago.
mouth. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yes.
Everybody in Chicago, wherever you're listening to us from, you know, this is the show. We represent freedom, justice, and equality, black, strong, and unapologetically pro-Farrakhan on the radio every Tuesday night from 9 p.m. until midnight right here on WVON, the Talk of Chicago. Our brother's feeling a little down tonight. We prayerfully he'll be back with us on next week. But we want to thank Brother Richard Nabab Muhammad for trusting us to carry on the show in his absence. But he's still present because his spirit is in the building, brother.
And it shows how powerful his voice is, man. He needs two people to just hold up his one voice, brother, and hopefully we
That's
can
right.
do that. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a good show. A lot of content tonight. We got a special guest coming on next hour, Sister Dora Muhammad. We will talk about being an entrepreneur with her business called Rosebud. She's a fashion mogul in the city of Chicago. Just opened up her business a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to be speaking with her and Uncle Bobby Johnson, Cephas Uncle Bobby Johnson out of California. He was just appointed to the Police Accountability Board in Oakland, so I know he's got a lot to say. We're also going to have a special guest. Carlton Meyer is going to be joining them on that call in the 11 o'clock hour, so don't miss that. He's the uncle of Oscar Grant, brothers and sisters, so you definitely want to hear what this brother has to say. We've had him on the show several times, but we definitely want to get his insight on being appointed. He was appointed by the governor, Governor Newsom, appointing him, so that's pretty huge.
And the brother who's joining him, Brother Mayer, is from Chicago, I understand, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's from the city. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
So I know you got a lot of stories you want to run down out of that magnificent worldwide newspaper, the Final Call newspaper.
Well, Brother BJ, as we always do, and we will continue to do as long as we're on the airwaves, is to highlight the best newspaper publication, I will say it that way, in the world. In the country,
that's right.
Sure, in the world.
That's right.
And that's the best Final Call newspaper. And our brothers and sisters, you can see our brothers out there every day. We call them little messengers. They're out trying to educate our people, to uplift our spirits, to give knowledge, because only from knowledge will we understand our situation. And through knowledge, we can correct the situation and go forward and improve ourselves. So when you see the brothers out this week, on the cover, you're going to see the headline that says, Cultural Survival of the Original Family. Of course, it has a nice photo of our Native American family, a member of our Native American family. And it says the Final Call examines the triumphs, challenges, and realities facing Native American indigenous communities today. So, get that. We'll look further into that as we go through the paper. But the Native American and our indigenous brothers and sisters are pretty much facing the same issues that we are facing. The biggest difference is they have land, and they have a cultural continuity that was destroyed from our existence and experience here in these United States of America. But at least they have that, and that's a good step. Well, their language was stolen, so they don't have that much anymore. But so that's the cover. So you need to get in on that. You got anything on that, brother BJ? Before I go to the next piece?
Yeah, I know we got some more points to talk about that because Thanksgiving is coming up, and there were some really good points in that article that I know we can bring out a little later on when after you run down some of your stories.
Get down. All right, so on page 2. And now, and here's where we have to send all of our condolences to the family of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah Farrakhan. For those who have not heard, unfortunately, but it was the will of Allah that the second eldest son, Brother Joshua Muhammad, returned to Allah a few days ago, and the nation is in mourning over his untimely death, and we definitely are holding the family in our hearts and in our prayers. And it's Brother Joshua. He was an outstanding soldier, a committed son and follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He was there when it first got started.
Right.
He was heading up the tape program. If it wasn't for Brother Joshua, many of the things we have now, we would not have, particularly the tape, which is now DVD and now streaming. Recordings of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. But before you jump in, I would like to read the statement that was put out by our Executive Shura National Council. It says, Office of the Student National Assistant Minister, Brother Ishmael R. Muhammad, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Dated November 20th, 2023. Dear believers, we pray this letter finds you in the best of health and spirit. It is with heavy heart that we formally announce that the second oldest son of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah Farrakhan, Brother Joshua Farrakhan, returned to Allah on Saturday, November 18th, 2023. May Allah be pleased. We pray to Allah to lift the burden of sorrow from the hearts of the family of all of us who mourn his loss and give us peace. End quote. And no soul can die but with Allah's permission. The term is fixed, and whoever desires the reward of this world, we give him of it. And whoever desires the reward of the hereafter, we give him of it, and we shall reward the grateful. That's from the Holy Quran, Surah, or chapter 3, verse 145. And it ends with this. The Janazah service will be at Mosque Mariam this Saturday, November 25th, 2023, at 10 a.m. The burial will be immediately following. And again, that's this Saturday, November the 25th, at 10 o'clock at Mosque Mariam. Thank you, and may Allah continue to bless us all. Your brother and servant, Ishmael R. Muhammad, Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad, Student National Assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that is the announcement that is in this edition of the Final Call newspaper. And again, our prayers are truly going out to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and the family, Mother Khadijah and the family. Yes.
Yes, sir. May Allah be pleased with that beautiful brother. Didn't get a chance to really know him, but I know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was so happy that his son was around him, and they took such good care of the minister, watching over him and traveling with him, and just the joy to have your sons be with you in this work. So I'm just I was shocked, like everybody else was when we found out about it, and I just pray that Allah will have mercy on the family during their time of grieving right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, and because he had lost our brother Louis some years ago, who was the eldest of the brothers. So of course that was painful as well. So let us just keep extending the prayers, because prayers are heard and prayers are answered. So, and then as we go through the paper, though, go ahead, brother.
No, I was just about to say, wasn't he was very instrumental in the album that the minister put out? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know how his exact the role he played, but yes, he was like in the whole audio productions kind of came out and was started by him, just similarly as I think it was Brother Mustafa had started the radio aspect of it. Final Call radio, which is the 24/7 opportunity to hear the minister through the internet. But yeah, Brother Joshua was very instrumental. Without him and his work, we would have to probably be a few steps behind. But Allah blessed us with him, and we're certainly pleased and honored that he crossed. I'm glad he crossed my path. We hung out a couple times, not a whole lot, but he was a beautiful brother, very beautiful and straightforward brother. Okay, as we go through the paper, though, brother, we have a very nice package that Brother Rasul Muhammad, our general manager at the Final Call, put together all around this whole issue of revealing the truth and exposing the synagogue of Satan. You know, we've all heard about the lawsuit that we have, the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has put forth. And, of course, we're going to be looking for some interesting things coming from that. We're calling Satan to the witness stand so that he can be condemned by the truth and condemned by the lies he has been speaking for so many years. But there's a package of MP3s, tapes, videos that kind of sum it all up. There's a package of different things. So just give a call to the Final Call at 866-602-1230 and ask about that package, exposing the synagogue of Satan. So, okay, my brother, and as we go forward, I don't know, do you have the paper in front of you as well, so you know where I'm at?
Yes, sir.
Looking?
Okay. I got it right in front of me. Yes, sir.
All right. So another major piece that our brother Brian Muhammad, who is our writer on international affairs, a very good writer as well, his article is called Make America Know Her Sins in Gaza. And he's just reviewing all of the illegal things that have been done in Gaza with the support of the United States of America, as we have seen genocide take place, as we're seeing a whole being cleared, the land kind of being cleared of massive portions of its population through this war, and untold killings, just killings of innocent people, the bombings of hospitals, etc., that is taking place. So he has a very good roundup of that with some interesting commentary from advocates and scholars,
yes, sir.
From around
I wanted to pull out a couple of points in that article that our brother Brian wrote. Beautiful article. And he noted that November 17th was the global day of action, with thousands turned out for protests all over the country. And in that article, everybody, you pick it up, the majority of the people in the country are rejecting the policy of the Biden administration. The tide is turning on public opinion. And if you can read this article, it'll give you some good insight. There was something that in the message to the black man I wanted to pull up, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in Message to the Black Man, he said, collectively for 9 decades. No. This is an article. He said, collectively for 9 decades, Minister Farrakhan and his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, warned the world's nations, and particularly America, about the consequences of their actions against the poor and oppressed. They caution from the scriptures that every nation will be judged out of their own books and record of deeds. So if you look at the scriptures of what's happening today, you marry these things together, because this is study time now. This is you really getting a grasp of what is taking place and marrying the scriptures with it, and it'll give you a blueprint of what's about to take place. So make sure you get those books. And I was going over, Brother James, I was going over the time and what must be done. That part, I think it was part 21. And I haven't finished watching it again, but, it's good to go back over this material so that you'll know what you're talking about when you're talking to brothers and sisters on the street. I think it's not part number 19. Part number 19 of the time and what must be done. And, part number 19, part number 21 of the time and what must be done series. And look at that on YouTube. You can see it in consequential order, all of those lectures
Exactly.
On YouTube.
Exactly. Just take one a day. Like an apple a day, take a lecture a day for, 58 or 59 days. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he just lays, it's a blueprint. As you mentioned earlier, something about a blueprint. It's a blueprint of what we're seeing. He called it even before it happened, and now we're seeing it. And so that's good instruction that we need to study that so we'll know where we are and what we need to be doing. Let's take a quick break, brother. Brother BJ, we know it's 773-591-1690 is the number to call if you want to get in. But how can people support Brother Nava in his efforts, Brother BJ?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, brothers and sisters, y'all did a great job last week because, this ain't free. We're paying for this airtime on WVON. We're thankful that the family that runs this radio station, of course, everybody that helps us out every week. Sister Jeanette is our producer. Brother Deontay is our producer. They do a good job, but everybody got to eat. Everybody needs some funds to keep everything running. This engine has to continue to go so we can give you this truth that you're looking for every week. So we have some apparatus for you to call in and make some donations. We got Cash App, $ straight words on Cash App, on Zelle, 312-480-9775, 312-480-9775 on Zelle, and on PayPal, it's straightwords4@gmail.com. Please make your best donation, brothers and sisters, and help us out to keep this show going so we can give you this freedom, justice, and equality talk right here on WVON. You can jump on the phone lines if you'd like to join the conversation tonight on Straight Words, 773-591-1690. That is 773-591-1690. We invite you to call in and share what you've been observing as well. And brother James D., can we make this breaking news announcement about what happened? Did you see that about the ceasefire?
Yeah,
yes,
can you make that announcement? I'm saying goodbye to my grandson right now, brother. It's going to take me 1 minute, but go ahead and make that announcement.
Okay. Well, Israel's cabinet, I'm reading this from CNN, Israel's cabinet has approved a deal for the release of hostages seized by Hamas in exchange for a pause in the fighting in Gaza. The agreement would see the release of at least 50 hostages, women, and children in exchange for a 4-day truce in Israel's air and ground campaign, according to a government statement. And it held out the potential for an extension, saying that an extra day would be added for each additional 10 hostages available for release. So we understand there's 240 Israeli hostages, and they're going to release 50 of them. And they say they'll hold off with their ground attack and the aerial assault if they release a prisoner. Every 10 hostages will add another day to the ceasefire. So that's what's going on right now. This is a brand new breaking news, maybe about an hour ago, that came across CNN. About 1.7 million people have been displaced in Gaza since October the 7th. And according to the latest statistics, we've seen about 13,000 people have perished. Palestinians we're talking about, and about 5,000, upwards to close to approaching 6,000 children have died, Brother James G.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Which is a tragedy, and apologize. I had to, of course, we got a relative in town, and my grandson was moving, getting ready to leave out of town again, and so I had to greet him and put a couple of bucks in his hand. You know how that goes, bud.
Yes, sir.
So I apologize for having to step off, but this story that you mentioned is one of the reasons why we got to hold our families near and dear, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said what you see happening abroad will one day be at your door. So though you see the fighting and the killing that's going on over there, and though it's happening somewhat here, it's going to get worse. There was another article that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan used to talk about, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the worst is yet to come. So when you see all these calamities that's happening, how senseless murders are going on, how wars are starting, but they said the worst is yet to come because it's a changing of the world rulership from Satan to the kingdom of heaven. And so that's kind of what we're witnessing. So just want to throw that in, Brother BJ. And,
yes, sir.
Move on with some of these stories so we can get to the next section of our program. There's an article. There's a couple more articles that we just want to highlight. And if you got something that you want to highlight that you saw, I'm not going to go through everything, but this one that really touched my heart was it's by Brother William out of Rockford. But he was writing about Southern injustice exposed, deaths, accusations, and too many unanswered questions. And what he's writing about are two unsolved murders of two young black men in the South, one in Georgia and one in Mississippi. One brother, his name was Stephen Johnson, and he this is how he died, brother. He was on the last day of his probation. He had a 6-month probation. His last day. So he's in I guess the facility, the jail or whatever, with his probation officers. So he's handcuffed, and he was getting transported with his probation officers to the jail. He's handcuffed. It's his last day of probation. Allegedly, he broke free, and while handcuffed, ran away. A few days later, they found his body still handcuffed and, floating in the river, the Omugali River in Georgia. And so that case is unsolved. There's no real answers to it. I don't know, I can't recall how old it is, but I think his body was found on November 2nd, 2022. But I'm sorry, not him. That was the other brother. I'm sorry. But I'll find the other date. But that was Stephen Johnson. And if you get the paper, read that because it's very well written by our brother, William Muhammad. The other brother was named Rasheem Carter. And we've talked about Rasheem's case maybe a couple of times on the program. He was a 25-year-old brother down in Mississippi who got off his job. And as he was walking on the streets in this Mississippi town, he noticed 3 truckloads of white guys following him. So he goes into the Taylorsville Police Department, not once, but twice, asking for assistance, asking for help. And so obviously the officers there didn't pay him no mind. And a few days later, they found his dismembered body in a field somewhere down there in Mississippi. And so there's still no answers on that one. Nobody that I'm aware of has been charged. They're still seeking answers. And of course, the parents are grieving, and it makes it worse when you don't have answers to what happened to your loved ones. That's a couple of the ones I wanted to highlight. There's so many other good ones up in here. There's one on, as we mentioned, the indigenous, and I think you had a thing you wanted to mention on some of the points that were brought out in that article. Was it by Charlene, our West Coast national correspondent?
Right. That Thanksgiving is coming up, and it's a reminder of the genocide of millions of our Native American brothers and sisters. And as people are eating turkey and yucking it up, kiki, ha-ha, and enjoying your family, rightly so. But our brothers and sisters in the Native American community, that's the National Day of Mourning. And this has been an event going on since the 1970s. And this is what I wanted to mention in Message to the Black Man, I was referring earlier. In Message to the Black Man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the white man has left a remnant of that people for the sake of mockery and for his children to see the people their fathers conquered and taking this land of the Indians for their own land, as they call it today. And so, when you see stories, I was watching a couple of videos today of some of the Native American brothers and sisters, and they were telling their story of what happened, and they're very sad, you know. And we're oblivious to this. It's like every year, everybody's just thinking about gathering with family, but our people that belong to us, they're suffering and mourning what happened to them. And we really need to stop celebrating these holidays, Brother James D.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, bro. What I think about, too, when I read it, to me, it's all about, like, what's the whole narrative? Who's telling the story, number one?
Right. Right.
Because, like you said, we're so used to having a holiday where we're celebrating, you know, how the Pilgrims came and was settled in America. It doesn't tell you that, you know, necessarily that the Native Americans were the one. Just like they don't tell you that what they learned, they got all that from us in Africa. Everything they've learned,
right.
The foundation of their knowledge was gained from black folks who either came up into Europe to teach them, or they came down into the fertile areas of the Nile and where we taught them. Similarly, when they got here, they would have all died if it wasn't for the Native Americans showing them how to survive, right. and not just outright slaying them. But just as right. you see an effort in some of these states that is growing, actually, to not teach history as it occurred because it might offend some white folks, the same thing is happening here. You don't learn about the Native American experience. You get one narrative view, and that's the view of the conqueror. And so when you are fed that, you walk into a school, most of the students wouldn't know about the other side of the argument, just as you really don't know or you don't pay as much attention to the other side of the Palestinian argument because the conqueror is telling the narrative. And until we seek, that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad set up Muhammad Universities of Islam. That's why Master Farad Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad set them up, because we got to have a knowledge of self and
right.
teach our own children so that we won't be put to sleep by falsehoods that are put through the education system.
That's right.
So
that's right.
When I read this, man, that's how I read it. Native. And the other thing is, Brother BJ, these, like you said, these are our people. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, with the 2 million Indians, makes
right.
it 19 million, okay, in terms of the original right. people. And so when you see our brothers and sisters coming up from Venezuela and Mexico, Nicaragua, all of that, what is not told, and it's made as if, okay, here are these immigrants coming to take over the country. Let's send them back, et cetera, et cetera. But we as black people, we don't see them. If prior to the arrival of the conqueror, those folks, they weren't the light skinned people, mostly
right.
light skinned that we see coming up here, and then many of them aren't really. I mean, really, when you see them coming up, especially from the Venezuela, et cetera, they've got that hue, that darkness that shows that they're of our family. But even before the intermixing, it was, they were like as dark as we are. Not that, right. They're light, et cetera, called light skin. But and so when they come up, we're pitted against each other instead of trying to see our commonality, our unity in the struggle to unite and just unite. If we did that, we'd be much stronger. And that is what the MAGA movement is all about. Keep folks disunited so that we can keep America great and white again. Because if the brothers and sisters coming up from the South unite with the black people and that's already here, what kind of problem would that produce for them? And it's not even that we would be out to destroy them. All that we're looking for is equality, justice, freedom, justice, and equality. Yeah,
that's right. And just like Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, they make mockery of us, so they name us after football teams. The Washington Redskins. Remember that controversy a couple of years ago?
Oh yeah.
You have
the Chiefs.
You got the
Chiefs.
the Chiefs. You got the Florida. Well, I do like the Chiefs, bro.
I mean, not that you don't like them.
I'm just kidding.
I like them too.
I'm just kidding.
I like them too. I was sorry they lost, but in terms of the mascot, the Redskins had to change theirs. But I think KC has. They seem like they kind of accepted that. Even maybe even the Native Americans. But I digress because you made me digress. Right.
But I was about to bring up the Florida State Seminoles because there's some interesting history about us because the Seminoles got a lot to do with us. We were the Seminoles, darker skinned Indians down there in Florida as part of the Geechee Gullah tribe. Man, it's a whole lot of history that's being made mockery, and they use it for entertainment, but it's got some real significance behind it. But this coming noon, I challenge everybody to, instead of, looking at the Cowboys and your favorite sports team, at noon this Thursday, our brothers and sisters in the Native American community will be acknowledging the National Day of Mourning, and you can watch it, and it's going to be in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it's right there where the so-called Plymouth Rock is. They call it's Coal Hill, formerly known as the Plymouth Rock area. It's overlooking that area. And the website is uaine.org. That's uaine.org. And they'll be streaming it live. And you can watch and see while everybody else, the whole country, is acknowledging festivities. There's another group. There's two Thanksgivings going on. One of people mourning over their ancestors and what was done to them. And then us that are frolicking around like, Thanksgiving is like a fairy tale because you remember what they taught us in school. They taught you that the Pilgrims and the Indians sat down together and they had dinner, and then they had dessert. Then they played some games and everybody just got along. But they didn't tell you the real truth about that. So don't teach your children lies, like Brother James said. We need that knowledge of self. And when you have that knowledge of self, you get out of this fairy tale world and get into reality,
Yes, sir. And so we also have a few articles. I know we're getting into the hour, but there's a reparations article in here by Sister Anissa Muhammad, who is an excellent writer as well. And in that article, they also refer to, in a related article, there's a movement to take the bounty off of Assata Shakur, who is in exile in Cuba. There's a whole movement that's getting started on that. I think it's a $2 million. Let me find the article. But bounty on her head. And
yes, sir. I heard about that.
Cuba. She's been in Cuba for so long. So they're trying, and we actually had President Obama in, and he could have had the opportunity to lift that bounty. But of course, even though we were proud to have our brother in office, there's a lot of strings attached to that seat, and the person sitting in it isn't necessarily the one in charge of it. So she's still languishing. She's living down in Cuba, and so we want to support that as well as the whole push for reparations, which I think, in my opinion, we should really just put the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's program up front. Let's stop trying to, what we call integrate into a society that doesn't want us, and just put a program in front of them, in front of the power holders, and say, okay, if we can't live in peace, this is what we present. And if we could just get behind that, I think, make them make a decision and say, okay, we'll give you freedom, justice, and equality, or no, we'll give you some land. You can go ahead and go on for yourself.
Right.
But we keep, in my opinion, we keep going around in circles on this whole.
Yeah, so what, when you think about it every day, I was watching this podcast today, brother, and the man was talking about freedom, right? And he said, what is the most valuable thing that you could have in your possession? It is freedom and have total autonomy over your time. That you ain't got a whole bunch of people telling you what you can't and cannot do. And we want to be free. When I think about freedom and you think about people, they'll work. I know everybody's got to go to work. Everybody got to make money and take care of your family. But you mean to tell me for the majority of your work life, we work at a job where some white person tells us what to do forever? How much time I can take off to enjoy myself and during my work career. So if I work at a job for 40 years, somebody's telling me what I can't enjoy my life. And then, the average lifespan of black people now is like 71 years. So if you retire at 65, you got a couple of more years to get your Social Security check and you out of here. Come on, brothers and sisters. It's better for you to try to do something for yourself,
right? Try
to struggle with it, and you can own your time and you can relieve some stress because we're dying of cardiovascular disease, and stress will kill you. Mm-hmm. There's an article about black women having strokes.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, and if like you mentioned, having some white boss giving you orders or telling you when you can do this or that. Okay, you're going to have places of employment. But if it was all for us, if it was what we're working toward, like in the nation, people who work at our facilities, but we're moving progress for the whole. So, of course, there's structure, there's things you do, but it's all toward one movement. And when you treat it with freedom, when you treat it with justice and equality, it's not work. It's part of our mission. And you take joy in seeing that because the young ones coming up behind you will grab the mantle and they'll be that much further ahead, but it will be on an independent trajectory as opposed to when our parents came up. They all wanted the best for us. They wanted us to all get ahead and be better than they had, but it was all in the context of integrating into a society that don't want us. And so that has been our biggest problem. So if we can, and again, it's the program by Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Unite, let's do things for ourselves, and let's put this Caucasian and his society in the rear view, especially those who don't want to, who don't want us in their midst.
That's right. Do for self or suffer the consequences. I said do for self or suffer the consequences. That's what we preaching for the rest of our lives. We want our children to get that mindset, do for self and make a way for yourself. You don't need nobody else. You belong to yourself. Your time is your time. You don't have to answer to nobody for the rest of your life. Somebody telling you, how to live your life. You put yourself in a prison. And, and think about being independent. There's a price that come with it now. Because when you get a check from somebody, you can depend on that check every 2 weeks. But when you try to produce that check for yourself as an independent person, there's a difficulty factor attached to it. So let's not, think that it's going to be like I'm going to start a business and all of a sudden, I'm rich and I'm living this life. No, brother. It may take you a couple of years to figure this thing out, but it's better if you learn how to figure it out because nobody can fire you. Nobody can look over your shoulder and tell you you're doing this wrong. You can't go with this person. You can't go, especially with remote working now, brothers and sisters, where you can be anywhere in the country with your laptop and your creativity. That's what we got to learn how to really live life before we check out of here and get rid of this stress. That's what I'm excited about, brother, especially going into 2024, brother James G. We got to preach that to our people.
Yeah, 2024 is going to be rough. 2023 was already rough. But the last thing I want to mention the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article. Of course, those should be the first articles we read. One is his Opposers of Truth, which is out of, I think this one is out of The Fall of America, Pose of Truth. And the minister's message is called The Rise of the Indigenous Peoples. So it's always kind of connected to the headline. And that speech was delivered on May 1st, 1996. It says, to an audience representing various indigenous peoples of the earth. The Honorable Mr. Farrakhan has always strove to unite the black, the brown, and the red. And he's very highly respected among our Native American family. So brothers and sisters, pick up that final call paper. You know, you'll come away, you'll put a few dollars in your brother's hand, but you'll come away a much richer person for yourself once you go ahead and delve into the words that are in the paper. So, Brother BJ.
That's right.
You want to, again, remind folks if they can help Brother Naba's efforts out here, because like you said, man, this is what we do every Tuesday. We come on. It's not free. And hopefully it's a conversation that our people enjoy to listen and hopefully to call in and partake. We know it's an hour is a little late for some, but hey, you know, we got all the time in the world for the other things we want to do. So, you know, wherever our heart is, that's where our treasure is. If our treasure is on frolicking and frivolity, I mean, if our heart is there, well, that's where our treasure will be, or no treasure. But if we're committed to being educated, informed, and committed to, you know, helping our people come out of this malaise that we're in, this death state, then programs like ours, inshallah, will be helpful in doing that. And the only way we can keep that up is how, Brother BJ?
That's right. Donations. This is a righteous cause, and we're doing this in the name of love, in the name of righteousness, in the name of trying to educate our people. There's somebody out there that's in the darkness that will hear something that will turn the light on. So that's why we do this show, and we're here for 3 hours every Tuesday, brothers and sisters, and we want your support. We ain't going to make no bones about it. We want your support. We need your support. So please help us. $ Straight Words on Cash App, $ Straight Words on Cash App, whatever you want to give, however big, however small, make a donation at $ Straight Words on Cash App, on Zelle, 312-480-9775. That's 312-480-9775. And on PayPal, it is Straight Words, the number 4 at gmail.com. Straight Words, the number 4 at gmail.com. We got about 10 more minutes before we head to the top of the hour. And if you want to get in, all right. We got Brother Barney on the line right now. I was about to give out the phone number, 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Barney.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother DJ and Brother James Muhammad. And again, love to our Brother Naba. How are you today?
We're doing fine,
great,
beautiful. I just wanted to jump in for a second. Again, I want to send our condolences to Brother Joshua, and I thought I'd throw out to the audience not so trivial tidbits about our Brother Joshua Muhammad. And I would ask the question, what type of recording device did Brother Joshua record on for Brother Farrakhan's programs in his early days? Dun, 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 dun. No, I'm not going to make y'all wait on it.
It was a cassette or reel-to-reel.
We were down in the basement of the final call, which sometimes doing exercise. And brother, you know, when Joshua got through the tape programs, he was high-speed duplicated cassette tapes, running them in high-speed duplicators, and he would be moving them out. And we really enjoyed watching him as he made those tapes, brother. And so I just wanted to give a little tidbit. He was a wonderful brother, a lively brother, but he stayed on his post with making sure that there was something in the bucket for the minister. Found some way in those early days to make to bring in some revenue. And the other point I want to make on the final call paper with the Valley of the Shadow of Death, the minister's article, dealing with the relationship between the pharmaceutical companies and the agriculture. I wanted the people to make special attention to what they're buying in the stores. What we used to get and buying in the stores, they've changed. Like Hillman's mayonnaise, now they get biodegradable, bioengineered on it. And there's a lot of the products are now bioengineered, which is basically GMO. And so we now have to start looking again at the products we used to look at that had a U on it that was straight. Now we can't take anything for granted. So those are the two things.
Brother Barney.
Yes, sir.
Brother Barney, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you noticed, brother, when you went to the grocery store, because me and my wife go to this, we go to that grocery store where they don't give you no bag. I ain't going to call the name of it, but they don't give you no grocery bag to take your stuff out. And, brother, the food, we had some bananas, brother, and it was like slime. I mean, all this food. We bought some onions and we roasted them, and there was some white stuff coming out of it. So, like, the enemy, he messing with the food now. It's like it's too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's like
absolutely. So we know we coming down to where the message to say we got to start thinking in terms of how we want to take our mouths out the white man's head.
Exactly, no doubt about that, man.
Yes, I'm gonna get off because I know my wife is coming on after somewhere the next hour. And
you might as well stay on and leave the line open, bro. Okay.
What a man.
Thank you, brother.
Hopefully we get a radio thought for this program and making sure people cash out $, great words. May Allah bless you.
That's right. Thank you, Brother Barney.
I know we got another call. Let me just say this real quick about Brother Barney. You know, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan referred to him as the watchman on the wall. That's how vital, that's how vital he is in terms of just being able to kind of look, watch where there's an issue, to point it out and just keep everything, to the best of his ability, along with others, to just keep a watchful eye on the house. So we appreciate Brother Barney, and we had a great program the other day in memory of, in honor of our brother, Lieutenant Khalil Muhammad, who was the top paper salesman in the nation, who passed a while back. But I know you got another call.
Yes, sir. We got Brother Sam Bell on the line. Peace, brother. You on WVON Straight Words. How you doing tonight?
Yes, how you doing, brother? That's true.
Yes, sir.
I'm from Laker. Yeah, I'm still. It's long. Yeah, like I said, all this going on, I feel, that the people and we call it people, can't say it, but the people, hungry and stuff, I feel sorry for them because they, they need something. And my heart go out. Yes, sir. Go out to them because I feel Thanksgiving Day is coming. Thanksgiving is Thursday. That they need something too. They need to eat.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I really feel sorry for them.
Yes, sir.
I really do.
Yes, sir.
Not to grab people. People how to live, leaving tents and stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for your compassion, brother, and your empathy. You sound very empathetic towards what you're seeing on the streets, brother. And our people need some help. So anytime we can, do something and have mercy. The scripture says, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall be shown mercy." So every time we show mercy to somebody that's less fortunate than us, when we're in need, the God, he'll help us too. Mm-hmm. So there's another scripture I love when the scripture says, "As thou hast done, so shall it be done unto you." So when you do good, good will come back on you.
It's better to give than to receive.
That's right. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you for sharing, man. God bless you too, brother.
You got a good point, though, brother. That's what Thanksgiving should be. It shouldn't be about us. When I say us, the collective us, sitting at a table with a big turkey in the middle, etc. if we got a turkey, cut it up, put it in some plates. Let's go out like the minister had us doing. We're feeding 1,000 people. Take that food and give it to people who need it. Who are needy. And then when you come back, have your little something. But that's what Thanksgiving is. Thanking to be able to eat. And like you said, it's better to give and to receive the rewards that come from giving.
Yeah, man. We in bad shape. When people have food drives and they have turkey giveaways, and them turkeys, I didn't know them turkeys cost so much. Because I don't eat meat no more. But turkeys cost like what, $27, $28 or something like. Sometimes $30.
I don't even know, bro. Right. Yeah, and then no telling what they're shot up with either.
Right.
So
right.
You still got to be careful. They don't even have a label on how they've been grown, et cetera. So it's just very, we just have to be very careful, like the message just said. Take your food out of the white man's kitchen, and we're not growing our own. We just had the article in the paper last issue about how we're still losing farmland, and the farmers were trying to get together, and so we got so much work with so little time to do it. So, we've got to get it together, brother.
All right. So that closes out this first hour. We got the second hour. Sister Dora Muhammad is going to be here. We're going to talk about her great business called Rosebuds, and we're talking about modest wear. All you sisters out there, y'all looking for some. You want to be like the top fashion person in your neighborhood? Listen next hour, because she's going to drop it and talk about modesty and how to dress like the woman of God. You know what I'm saying? There she goes. Look at that. You can tell, when you dress like that, you stand out. You look like royalty and regal,
Right.
But we're gonna talk about that coming up next hour, brother. All right, brothers and sisters, hour 2 of Straight Words on WBON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. Editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper is the creator of this show, Brother Nabar Richard Muhammad. He's out tonight. Be back with us prayerfully on next Tuesday. Brother James G. Muhammad, contributing editor of the Final Call newspaper, is on the show tonight. And, of course, yours truly, Brother B.J. Murphy. I'm here, and, of course, we're taking your phone calls. You can jump on at 773-591-1690. And you can join the conversation as we talk to our next guest, Brother James G. Muhammad.
Yes, sir. And what a guest she is, my brother.
Yes, sir.
She is Sister Dora Muhammad. Is Sister Dora on? Is she on?
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, alaikum salam. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we are pleased to have a wonderful sister, a great entrepreneur, a wonderful Muslim, and the sister is Dora Muhammad. She happens to be the wife, the helpmeet, the soul of a dear brother of mine, Brother Barney Muhammad, who you just heard a few minutes ago dropping some wisdom on us. But we're so happy and pleased to have you, Sister Dora. Welcome to Straight Words with Brother Naba Muhammad. And unfortunately, he's not here, but I am, and Brother B.J. Murphy are here. So, assalamu alaikum.
Oh, walaikum salam, sir. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, ma'am. By all means. How are you doing today, first of all?
Fine, sir. And how are you?
Yes, we're doing great. We're doing great. Sister Dora, you are the founder of Rosebud Reflections. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Just give us the background, where it's located, what it is, and how its mission, etc.
Okay. Well, yes, I can do that. Let me start saying in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad and his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the reminder and Messiah, and I miss today, the Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you in the greeting words of peace of our community.
Walaikum salam. Yes, ma'am.
So you would like to know a little bit about my business, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Tell us a little. Tell us a little about yourself, and then tell us a little bit about the business.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm Sister Dora Muhammad. I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. I'm the wife of Brother Barney Muhammad. and I'm also the sister of Brother Amir Muhammad, formerly Brother James X, who was the chief emissary to the street organization by Brother Minister Farrakhan prior to his passing in 1996. I'm also a retired manager, real estate broker, and investor. And as you know, today I'm the owner and operator of the worldwide, well-known, prestigious, Black-owned Rosebud Reflection Jewelry and Accessories. And I am labeled the jewel of the South Side of Chicago.
I heard that.
Located at 620 67th Street, and I also have an online store at www.rosebudreflection.com. And I also encourage everyone to get an issue of this week's Final Call newspaper, greatest newspaper on the planet. The Rosebud Reflection has a full-page feature article about the store.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. And so, the store, how long has Rosebuds been in existence?
Well, I've been in business. We just had our 10th year anniversary, November 4th of this year. So I've been in business for 10 years.
10 years. And what have being an entrepreneur, and we were just mentioning being an entrepreneur, doing something for yourself. What have been the ups and downs of your journey, with Rosebud? And we know there have been more ups than downs, but just, what's the struggles and victories that you've had to deal with in doing business for yourself?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, the first 5 years were the hardest years because when I first opened business, I was just selling jewelry, fashion jewelry, and handbags, and smaller accessories like ponchos and scarves and things like that. So you didn't get a whole lot. I didn't get a whole lot of customers just coming in the store wanting fashion jewelry. So I had to listen to my customers and expand the business. So I never made any profit. I would always put my money into the business and expand, adding on more merchandise. So I started adding on clothes. I started adding on hats. Then I started adding on boots and skincare products. So that happened over a period of 5 years, putting money back into the business. Kind of hard for the business was marketing, bringing the customers inside the store. Because once I started selling modest clothing, of course, a lot of people don't wear modest clothing. So, and I had to figure out, well, how I'm going to keep this business going if everybody is not wearing modest clothing. So I had to put a spin on it and make it modest fashion.
Say that again, sis. You broke up. I didn't hear that last part. You had to put a spin on it?
Yeah, make it modest fashion.
Okay. Okay.
We added...
So Sister Dora, tell everybody what when you say modest fashion, tell everybody your definition of modest fashion.
My definition of modest fashion is loose fitting, wrinkle length dress and skirts, tops and jackets. They cover your chest, your arms. They come mid-thigh. And this comes in the teaching with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So that's what my definition of modest fashion is.
I'm gonna come back to that part of it, but you also mentioned about marketing. You said a couple of things that caught my ear. You said you listen to your customers, but that's what caused you to grow. And then you mentioned marketing. So obviously, I would think you still listen to your customers, and if you do, are they telling you more things of interest that you think you'll move into, and also talk about how you dealt with marketing, because I know I'm sure I don't imagine you have a big organization necessarily. So how did you handle when you talk about marketing? How did you handle that?
Well, I do a lot of social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. of mouth. I do text messages. I do emails. I just do a lot, you know. I have a background in retail.
Okay.
I used to work for, when I graduated from Roosevelt University, called Newsroom and Kagan Corporation. And they were the largest shoe retailer in the Midwest. So what I would do, they had stores that would just open or failing stores that wasn't doing good. And then they would play in those stores for a year. And after a year, the stores became $1 million, $2 million stores. So that was my job. So I have a background in the retail industry.
Wow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then your customers, that part of it, are they still, you know, talking to you? Are you still listening to them? And if so, what are some of the things you're hearing now, especially with regard to the modest styles?
Oh, they always say, you know, what's the latest fashion? They say, well, I want something in colors. You should get more two-piece outfits in. To get more skirts in. So, and that's what I do. I listen to my customers because they're the ones that's coming to the store and they're shopping. And of course, I have a small advisory committee. We have a couple of MG sisters, and we get together and we talk about, you know, what we should put into the store. If I'm in the process of purchasing merchandise and it's something that I'm not really sure of, I'll reach out to my sisters and they'll say, yeah, get that, or nay, I don't think you should spend money on that. And not only that, I have my husband. Now, my husband is a real merchandiser. I can look at some things and say, no, I don't like that. And I'll show it to him, and he'll say, you ain't bought that yet? Or, you know, I get that. I think you should color. And when he does, coming from a brother's point,
right.
Every time I do that, the merchandise sells out. I can't keep it. So, I'm thankful to Allah to have my husband, you know, help me, as well as the sisters advising me as well. I wouldn't be in business for 10 years without them because I didn't do it by myself.
Mm-hmm. And Brother BJ kind of alluded to it when he asked you to define modesty, but what is it about? I mean, I could be wrong, but, you know, a lot of times you don't think, well, I don't know, we don't think that sisters really want to wear so-called modest clothes unless they have a certain, you know, they're coming from a certain consciousness or a certain point of view in terms of understanding the meaning of, you know, respect for self, et cetera, et cetera. And, of course, I could be wrong. But why do you think more of our women aren't leaning toward, looking toward these kinds of fashions? Is it that they think men don't want to see them in a modest clothing, or is it something else that you've noted?
Yeah, I just believe, Brother James, that they really don't know the knowledge of modest clothing. And why I say that, you know, the store is just not for Muslim women.
Right.
It's for Black women all over the planet. So when they come to the store, they really don't know how to dress. They come in, they see long skirts, they see long dress, and they say, well, I've never put on a long dress before. I've never wore anything like that. So then myself, you see it, they put the outfits together for them. They show them exactly how to dress. They try it on. And they said, man, this is really beautiful. I never thought I could wear anything like that. You know, so you show them how to wear the jewelry, you know, the proper earrings to wear, the proper shoes to wear. And then they come back to the store, they'll call me or they'll post a picture on social media and say, wow, this is beautiful. I never thought that I could look like this. You know, so then they start becoming our regular customers. At that point, we show them something totally different. Something they didn't even know that they could wear.
Mm-hmm. And what about headwear? Because a lot of times some women may think that, well, why should I cover my hair? And even that it's not about covering your hair, because some the wraps that the sisters from the African look, of quote unquote, the wraps that our sisters wear. And then, of course, we have headpieces. We have scarves. So what is the attitude or perspective of, maybe younger sisters or those who aren't into the modesty of why the headwear? Why the headwear?
Well, we let them know, the headwear is really for your protection. So we sell more than just scarves, and we sell fedoras. We sell. They're fashionable that they can relate to. We show them how to wear a different cap with a certain outfit. How you wear a fedora with a certain outfit. So when we put everything together for them, they just love it. I think some people, when they go shopping, they go out to Walmart and that's the only thing that they see, so that's what they buy. But when they come to our store and then they see how the sales sisters be dressed, they come in and they compliment them. They say, "Where's that outfit at? How can I look?" So it's a big picture when you come to the Rosebud Reflection.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was going to ask you this, sister. Y'all, we got Sister Dora Muhammad. Rosebud Reflection is their store, and it's at 623 East 67th Street in the city of Chicago. Y'all got to go by there and check out her fashions. But Sister Dora, talk about the spiritual aspect of dressing, because what you put on tells a lot about who you are as a person. And do you talk about how, when you dress in a modest way, it's a protection for you when you're out in the public as well?
Yes, sir. Because, they look at us and they see we're dressed different. Mm-hmm. You get more respect when you dress like that because it dignifies us as a woman. So, when you dress modest, they just know that you're different. And that's why we get the respect because of the way that we are dressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some dudes like their woman to put on something sexy because they always talk about, well, I want everybody to see what I got and what you can't have. So, so a woman may feel like she has to be dressed sexy, to keep her man, I guess, because you would say that, hey, look, I don't want you looking at nobody else, so I'll put on this so you'll keep looking at me. But that's not the right attitude to have, is it?
No, sir, because meat is for animals.
There you go.
Good God Almighty, sister! I didn't know you were going to say that. Meat is for animals. I ain't never heard that one before. That's a good one. Meat is for animals because when men see women with breasts out, buttocks out, and all that kind of stuff, we turn into savages.
But the truth is, though, when you see a sister elegantly dressed, especially when it's like colorful, when it's colorful, etc., and she's, royal, standing, royally, that's very attractive. And it's intriguing. Mm-hmm. It makes a brother wonder, even more. You don't have to wonder if you see the sister wearing down, like you just mentioned, with her breast out, and, you kind of get a peep into her head, like you said, just by the dress. But you see a sister come out, like some of the sisters, they got the head wrap that is put together. You don't even know how they wrapped it like that. They got flowing garments that are various colors, and they just, it's intriguing. It's more beautiful than just straight out, like you say, the meat hanging out everywhere. So I understand it, sister. But Brother BJ did mention something. He used the word spirituality. Can you just talk a little bit about whatever that means and how it relates to how you carry yourself and particularly how you dress?
Well, yes, well, modest dress shows respect for ourselves. So you show yourself. That means we're showing respect to Allah. Because this is how we dress. Just to give you a prime example about spirituality, we the second self of God. So that's why modest dress is very, very important. It pleases Allah.
Yes.
So are you saying that you wouldn't walk up to Allah with your privates hanging out and short skirt and all that? Is that basically what we're saying?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, we're not saying that. No, we wouldn't do that. No, that's what I'm saying. You wouldn't do that. Okay.
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
God's laboratory. We just put it like that.
Say that again, sis.
It's God's laboratory.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, how do you go about? Like you mentioned, you have a team that you consult with. How do you choose the product that you want to display? You go like the big warehouse. You go to big warehouses and things, and I'm just curious of your selection. How you select things?
Well, I search all over the world. Looking for merchandise. They have certain vendor sites that you can go on and search for merchandise. Now, modest wear is really hard to find because most of that you see out here is not modest. So I have to take my time. I'm looking at this 2-3 o'clock in the morning, going back and forth, searching for the right product for my store. That's how I find. And then I have sales reps. They call me. And they say, and they know what I'm looking for, and then they'll tell me, we got this particular outfit in. We want you to take a look at it. And I go up online, I look at it. If I like it, I order it. If I don't, I move on to something else. But that's basically how I find most of my merchandise.
The number is 773-591-1690 if you have a question. 773-591-1690. I have one more question, Brother BJ.
Yes, sir.
You are a member of the Nation of Islam. How did you become acquainted with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Well, as you know, my brother and his wife, his first wife as well as his second wife, was in the Nation of Islam. As I was growing up, I would always hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Back, I was attending Roosevelt University, and the minister had came to Roosevelt, and he had spoke one day. And I had called my husband. I said, the minister came to the school, to Roosevelt, and he spoke. He said, yeah, that's Minister Farrakhan. He said, you need to come out and hear him. So I said, oh, okay. So the first time that I actually came out and heard the minister, it was the opening day of the Final Call Administration Building. So I came and listened to the minister, and I was just totally blown away. I was looking around because it's something that I had never seen before, even though my brother and his wife came up under the messenger. It was just something about that Final Call building and the way that the minister spoke. And at the end of the minister's speech, it sounded like we was in this big auditorium. He said last call for alcohol, last call. He was making this example, and then he said it was like real loud in my ears. He said, "This is the final call." Now I heard, and I knew right then and there, this was it. This was the final call. I'll never forget that day as long as I live. I never heard nothing like that. Like a ringing in my ear. And I've listened to tape. My husband found it. And as I listened to it, I just couldn't wait to get to that part. It was something about that part that got. what the minister has said about this is the final call.
Yes, ma'am. And the minister, he gave you his blessing when you opened up Rosebuds, didn't he? Sister, what did the minister say to you to encourage you?
Well, he just, he said, he appreciated what I was doing, for the sisters, and keep Allah foremost and up front, and that I was going to be expanding. Last time I spoke to him, I let him know that I was, relocating. And he told me, he said, well, you're not moving. You're going to be expanding your business. Words from my beloved minister. And he also took a picture showcasing my jewelry. Because when I first started my journey with Rosebud Reflection, that's all I used to sell was fashion jewelry and handbags. That's why the business is called Rosebud Reflection Jewelry and Accessories, because that was my start. So he showed jewelry, gave me his blessing, and it's definitely been a blessing ever since.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the name of your store Rosebud Reflections from the start, or did it change at one point?
Well, it was Rosebud Reflection Jewelry and Accessories from the start. Okay. And this year here, I started a Blue Rose showroom. Now, the Blue Rose initially was an online business, and I had everything set up like a showroom, and that's what I called it, the Blue Rose showroom. But it took off in a way that I never thought that it would take off like that. So now that's the sub-name of the Rosebud Reflection Jewelry and Accessories, the Blue Rose Showroom.
So, sister, when you first came in to the Nation of Islam, like we would say, like for myself, it's, I was in the world, I was doing crazy things, and, so I was curious, were you your style of dress, were you always leaning toward, even though, you weren't in the nation, toward the modest styles, or is that something that you leaned toward after, gaining more knowledge of self and becoming into the Nation of Islam?
No, sir. I've always dressed modest. Like I said, my brother Amir, he had 4, and he was the only boy in the family. He was the oldest. And my brother just did not allow us to go outside looking any old type of way. If you knew my brother Amir, but Brother Amir did not play. So we didn't go out like that. Absolutely not. And my mother was a dresser. She loved to dress, and she dressed modest. So that's how I've always dressed. I always loved fashion, and I will continue to love fashion and continue to dress the sister if it be by Allah's grace for me to continue on this journey with Rose Reflection.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, brothers and sisters, you have to jump on the line at 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. We got Sister Audra on the line. I think she wants to talk to you, Sister Dora. Peace, sister. How you doing? You're on WVON.
Peace. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I was just calling in. I am one of Sister Dora's regular customers. I'm also one of her advisors and models. And I just have to say that the time that I have had the opportunity to shop with Sister Dora, it has been a great experience because she has modest fashion that's at a really economical rate. You can find some very, very nice clothing without breaking the bank. Wherever I go, whether I am among the believing community of Muslims or work, school, I get compliments. People want to know, where did you get that from? from the jewelry to the clothing. Everything is put together so well. When you walk into the store, if you choose a piece of jewelry in the store, you can guarantee that there's something that is going to actually correspond with that piece of jewelry in the clothing to the handbags. So you can shop a total look, head to toe,
wow,
and accessorize. Mm-hmm.
So, Sister Audrey, tell everybody about the atmosphere. When you go in there, it's a place where women can gather. You can be yourself. Yes. You can shop and just take your time and pick out nice pieces for yourself.
That is correct. You can. When you shop at Rosebud Reflections, Dora has a warm and inviting spirit. She's very helpful, but she doesn't hover and she doesn't press you. She's good with looking at you and saying, this is a good look for you. This shape of this dress is good for you. This cut would look good on you. And she's good with also assisting you with color selection, making sure that what color you wear against your complexion, your skin tone, actually complements you. So you find a really wonderful experience on the south side of Chicago. And I would say, with the retail background that I have, that I have worked from Marshall Field's, the State Street store when it was Marshall Field, to stores at the 900 North Michigan building. I don't feel that I am treated any better at Rosebud Reflection versus one of those other stores. In fact, right. I am treated better. I'm treated better.
That's right. Yeah.
She serves us. You can come in, have a cool drink. You can have a seat. You can take as much time as you like. And it really does become like a commune. So you come, You're not just rushing in to shop. You're going to run into the people that you know. You're going to talk about a few things. You may even say, oh, I was looking at that bag. You getting that bag?
Nice. That's
yeah.
Nice.
So it's always a really wonderful exchange of communication, conversation, and, of course, clothing and jewelry and accessories.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, when I was in for the grand opening at the recent grand opening, and I was very impressed with all the colors and everything. But one thing I think I asked you about is, like, I wanted to buy something. I did buy something for my wife, of course. And what Sister Audrey said was true. You approached me while I was in there, and you kind of guided me to what you thought my wife would like. And she actually came in later and actually with my credit card brought it. So I was able to do that. But I was asking you, I was asking you when we gonna get some men's things in there. I was looking for some men's stuff because everything looks so good for the sisters. And I don't. So yeah, man, I was ready to get something.
I get a lot of brothers.
Just go ahead, sis. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, when he was mentioning when I'm going to get some things for the brothers, I do get a lot of brothers that come in there, just walk on the street, and they come, they say, well, everything is so beautiful. Where the clothes for the brothers at? Because they want to look too. And and I'm going to be reaching out to some brothers who would like to come and set up, some of the suits and ties and accessories and things like that, maybe at another location, because right now we've taken up every inch space in the store. But I do want to get men items. I just have to expand, just like the minister said, I'm going to expand, and that's what I'm going to have to do.
All right, we got two people on the line.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we got two people on the line, Brother James, Sister Dora. We got Sister Renita wants to talk to you. Welcome to WVON. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. This is Sister Renetta. Yeah, I just wanted to call in and give a shout out to Sister Dora. She has the sisters looking so nice all the time. We were just at a concert, Stephanie Mills' concert, and one of the sisters had on one of her pieces, blue jean dress, sharp. You know, Sister Dora, I say, Sister Dora, have y'all looking so nice. And I'm a customer as well. I haven't been by there in a while, but definitely I got to get back over there because Sister Dora always has us modest pieces that we wouldn't normally be able to find in the retail stores. So it's always a pleasure to come and do business with her. I'm going to veggie back what Audrey said. Sister Audrey said, she said that Sister Dora always has us some type of snack or some type of water or juice, you know, just pleasant experience. She's going to be helpful in helping you pick out things. Even for my birthday and my children's birthday, she calls us by the store and tells us to come and pick out some jewelry and just a great experience. So I really appreciate Sister Dora, and then also for the people in the community, you know, it's a safe place for them to come and find modest accessories and clothing, and a safe place for them to understand what the Muslims believe and what the Muslims represent. Sometimes we don't really, they don't feel comfortable coming toward us because they think like we're different from them. But with Sister Dora being in the community and with her offering the service of clothing, they come in and they feel welcome and her spirit is good. Then they want to know more about the teachings. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to shine our light, and Sister Dora does a good job at that. And I just wanted to get on and shout her out and say, yes, she has nice stuff. Anytime I'm in there and I'm buying things, I always tell other people, like, look, don't miss out now, girl. Go ahead and buy that before it's gone, because she's she's definitely going to always sell out because she has quality items that are really modest and good for us to look good and feel good as well. So yeah, so definitely congratulations, Sister Dora, on your expansion, and thank you all for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much.
All right, we got Sister Ada on. You're on WVON.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Salam.
I was just blown away by all of the beautiful things. Every time I walk in the door at Rosebud Reflections, everything that she has showcased, every department from the toiletries and the accessories to the outerwear this year. The outerwear is just fantastic. And then the quality of all of her pieces are just so superior. And I have to remind people that this is also a platform for us to practice Black economics. We have to, remember that we are a nation under siege, and we can't just continue to go to places that don't have our best interests at heart and dress us in flammable products that fall apart, that are, not really designed to, to our specifications. And then the other thing I would have to also add is that Rosebud Reflections also has so many gorgeous things that you just got to remember to be generous. Sister Dora has donated things to people who have had fires and severe loss. She's also always had a generous heart, and it inspires us to be generous. Well, it inspires me to be generous. So as a sister, quite often I find beautiful gifts to share with other people. So I have family out of state, and when they see things online, they say, "Ooh, that's sharp. I love those hats." She had some bucket hats and some sandals, And my cousin in Alabama, she was just blown away when all of a sudden the gift came in the mail. And, you know, she's in Podunk, Alabama, you know, looking fantastic when she shows up in Morning Star Baptist Church wearing Rosebud Reflection style. Again, it's because of the beautiful quality selections that Sister Dora has provided for us at her lovely shop. So I thank Sister and her husband, Brother Barney, for everything that they've done, all of their sacrifice and hard work for providing us a platform for us to practice our economics and community as well as fashion right there.
Yes, ma'am.
On 67th Street.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing that, sister. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's 773-591-1690. 773-591-1690. If you want to get in a word with Sister Dora Muhammad, proprietor of Rosebud Reflections. Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
So, yes, ma'am. They go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I heard the word quality come out quite a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because if normally when you walk into the store, if it's like a superior quality, it's going to be a superior price. But I hear the customers talk about superior quality, but affordability at the same time. So I'm curious, Sister Dora, when you look at things that you want to purchase from your suppliers, how do you ascertain how the quality of the product is? And then how do you match it with a price that will be sufficient for you to, of course, make your profit, but not break the bank of the customer?
Absolutely. Well, when I first started, I had a talk with Sister Dolores Ali. May Allah be pleased.
May Allah be pleased. Mm-hmm.
She said, Sister Dora, she explained to me she owned a store. And she said, well, if you're going to be pricing your items, don't price it too much. You can make a profit. She said, but if you price it too high, you're not going to have any customers. So
that's right.
I thought about that. So I said, okay, whatever I get, I'm going to make it affordable for my customers, because I know Black people, we don't have a whole lot of money to be spending on merchandise. But I wanted everybody to look good. So how I price it, I'm going to give you an example. If I get it for $20, I'm going to sell it for $40. And I've seen some of the same merchandise that people sell for $110.
Yes.
But I do that to my customers because I can make a profit. I can go buy more inventory. I can keep the store looking fresh with new inventory. So that's how my markup with my merchandise. I don't try to mark it up, and I'm sure I can get way more for it.
Yeah. And how do you look at something and know the quality of it? Because as you mentioned, some people can go into Walmart. You can buy something, but the quality is not going to last as long as something that has more quality to it.
Yes, sir. Well, they also give a description of all the merchandise. They tell you the type of material it is. They tell you the color. They tell you the size that the model is wearing. They'll say that this material has some stretch to it, has no stretch to it. That's how I try to end up quality. Sometimes I might not even order a full-size run. I might order 1 or 2 pieces and receive it just to see how it looks, how it feels, if it's good quality. And then if I get, then I'll go back and I'll order more inventory of that product. So that's just to figure out what is good quality.
Yes. I gotta interrupt y'all real quick because we got a major announcement. Our editor-in-chief is on the line, Brother Naba Richard Muhammad. Praise be to Allah. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, wa alaikum salam. I'm calling in from a secret location, but I I picked up part of the show, Sister Dora. I just wanted to say, because I visited that shop. I didn't try not to know him, but I did visit. But I wanted to say, it's such a beautiful shop. She got purses that match shoes. She got stuff that I could see my daughters wear. Mm-hmm. So what she offers, in my little view, she offers stylish apparel that elevates the black woman. So, sister, you ain't gotta be walking around like you in some potato sack. Right. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta be walking around in all black with a slit for your eyes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what other people do. That's not what we do.
That's right.
And I think the more that people hear and see, because my youngest daughter's 17, man. I really want to take her there and just see if something appeals to her. You know, I'm not going to force her to pick nothing, but I just want to take her so that she sees options and they look good, and she don't dress crazy already. The other thing I think is so important is that in the nation we say a nation can rise no higher than this woman. Mm-hmm. And so it is our duty and it is our honor to showcase Sister Dora Muhammad and her work and her accomplishment in her own right. Now, she got a great partner there with Brother Barney now.
No doubt.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong now. But for us to be able to present her with what she does, the value of what she does, and she's good at it. And she's part of revitalizing an entire block. So now we got Rosebud Reflections, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got the name right. That's what I want to make sure of. Yes. And we got Let's Eat to Live restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then we got Salon Wellness Center.
Yeah.
Then we got a laundromat. Mm-hmm. Then we got a garden. And we got and we got a little spot on the corner that's being remade. You know, brothers and sisters, this is rebuilding the wasted cities. This is providing our people with a sign and tangible work that shows what we can do, what the nation can do. And look at it now. If we revitalize that block, there's other stuff there. There's like, I think there's an apartment building like right across the street.
Yeah.
Right.
Just waiting to be taken over. Just waiting to be taken over. So we begin. And Sister Dora, I just had to say congratulations to you. And I did buy something. I bought some soap and some toothpaste. But look, brothers and sisters, stop by her store. And don't just stop in. Find a way to take money out of your pocket and put it in hers.
Right.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, don't just stop in. Oh, that was nice. No. I don't care if you spend $5, $10. I spent about $20.
Praise be to Allah. Yes.
Soap and some toothpaste and stuff that was good for me. Mm-hmm. Right? But don't just stop by and admire the work. Join the work. Buy something. Spend a few dollars. If you don't have a lot of money, buy a scarf, buy a hat, buy some socks, buy some perfume, buy whatever your pocket can afford that day. Because every dollar that we spend with this sister is an investment in our future. See, one day your daughter gonna need something. Wouldn't it be nice and shouldn't it be good that we have a place where she can go to start looking for something if she wants to go to a special dance or a special occasion? Shouldn't we have that for her? Shouldn't we be building a black economy? Shouldn't we be showing our people the reality of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Shouldn't we show them what unity truly means. And I tell you one thing about Sister Dora and her beautiful husband, Brother Barney. They believe in the teachers and they believe in unity.
That's right.
They believe in the teachings and they believe in unity because not only do they ask for support, they give support. And they've been doing it for years and years and years. So, Sister Dora, thank you for honoring us with your presence. Have you talked about Black Friday and Small Business Monday? You got to that yet?
Oh, Brother Knob, I just want to say thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I'm just enjoying everything that was said. I have not mentioned Black Friday as of yet, but we are having our Black Friday sale. And
okay, hold on, Sister Dora. Let me get off the line. And you give them all the Black Friday and all the small business money you got.
Well, like
go ahead, sis.
Okay, we're having Black Friday, which is this Friday. I call it the real Black Friday because my dollars come from real black people. So
go ahead.
It's open at 11 o'clock on Friday. We'll give away free gifts. We have 20% off the entire store. So come on out and shop with us. We have Small Business Saturday, which is the same sale that we're running for Black Friday. And we're going to be giving out gifts as well and 25% off the entire store, from skincare products to hats, scarves, boots, everything in the entire store. So come on out, bring a friend, make it a day. When you get finished shopping, go next door, have lunch or eat to live. You know, just make it a day and spend your dollars with black business. Even if you can't even make it to Rosebud Reflection, find you a black-owned business to spend your dollars with. Black Friday and Small Business Black Saturday. That's what I call it. Small Business Black Friday.
Is it 25% both days or 20%?
No, it's 25% on both days.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Cool. And that location, y'all, is 623 East 67, 623 East 67 on the south side of Chicago. We're talking about Rosebud Reflections with Sister Dora Muhammad. Real quick, we got a couple of minutes. I'm going to try to see if we can squeeze in Sister Lania. She's been holding on. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Lania. Real quick, you can talk to Sister Dora.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum.
She's not there.
Go ahead.
She's there. Go ahead. Sister Lania, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. We're running out of time. Go ahead, sister.
Oh, okay. I was just saying it's the best place. That everybody there knows you. They treat you good. She dress you. She remember what your clothes is, and she buys some accessories, and she makes sure you get them. That's all I got to say.
Go ahead. That's a mouthful. That's a commercial right there. So thank you. All right.
She's going to say beans, tomatoes, potatoes. Yeah, that's a good testimony.
All right. Well, Sister Dora, we enjoyed you, and people, you do shipping as well. So give out the contact information, all the ways people can get in contact with you one more time.
Yes, sir. Sister Dora Muhammad, you can reach me at 773-629-7726. That's my business number. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or you can come on by and shop at 623 East 67th Street, or you can shop my online store at www.rosebudreflectionshop.com.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Brother Barney, for supporting your wonderful wife. Because you benefit from this too, bro. So Brother Barney's there making everything happen behind the scenes. So thank you, Brother Barney, Sister Dora. Assalamu alaikum to you, sister. Thank you so much.
Walaikum salam.
All right, brothers and sisters. We're heading to the top of the hour. Coming up next, Uncle Bobby Johnson out of California, out of Oaktown. He's going to be with us along with Carlton Mayer, and he's just been appointed to the Police Accountability Board. And that's a huge appointment. And we're going to talk about what his plans are for being on that board coming up next hour. Remember, you can donate $ straight words on Cash App to the show, $ straight words on Cash App, 312-480-9775 on Zelle, and on PayPal, $ straight words, the number 4 at gmail.com. Hopefully, Brother Naba will dial back in so he can get in this conversation with Uncle Bobby Johnson and get some of his insight, Brother James G.
Yes,
so that closes out this hour. We're going to be back right here on WVON 1690. This is the Talk of Chicago. All right, brothers and sisters, you're listening to the radio show that believes in freedom, justice, and equality for all the people of the earth. This is Straight Words coming to you every Tuesday from 9 p.m. until midnight. And, of course, the creator is our great brother, Brother Naba Richard Muhammad, editor-in-chief of the greatest publication on the planet, the Final Call newspaper. Brother James G. Muhammad is our co-host, as well as me, Brother B.J. Murphy, and we are here on WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. We got a great hour lined up for you right here on WVON. You can join our conversation, because I know you want to get in on this riveting conversation we're going to have about police brutality. 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. Last week, Gavin Newsom of California announced that our big brother Cephas Uncle Bobby Johnson, is going to be on the Police Accountability Board. He was appointed by the governor to be on that board. And, of course, he is the uncle of Oscar Grant. And you remember that story back in 2009. Oscar Grant was shot and killed by a former BART police officer who claimed he mistook his gun for a taser and killed him on the platform. And, of course, this was captured on cell phone, and it sparked widespread protests all around the country. And in the Bay Area, he's joining us tonight. Assalamu alaikum, big brother. How you doing?
Wa alaikum salam, B.J. Murphy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Families United for Justice is the name of his organization, and the Love Not Blood campaign. You've heard him on our show several times, and we thank you for joining us from the West Coast tonight. And Brother James G is going to start off with the questioning. Yeah. I know we got our other special guest, Brother Carlton Mayer. He's going to join us with his part. But let's start off with Uncle Bobby G, Brother James.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that's great. Assalamu alaikum, Uncle Bobby. A pleasure to be here with you, and we thank you for joining the show. How you doing? First of all, I'd like to just get the barometer of how you doing today.
Yeah, wa alaikum salam. I am, blessed to be alive first. I'm breathing, so all praises to Allah for that. And secondly, we doing all right as a family. We are, just making the best of what we can of this life that we have.
Yes, sir. It's a blessing. Every day above ground is a blessing, as they say.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I'd like to just clarify really quick, if I can. Myself, and of course my wife, Auntie B, affectionately known, Beatrice X. We founded the Love Not Blood campaign, and that campaign word is utilized because we have various campaigns that we do, and one of our campaigns is this network of families we have that's called Families United for Justice Network. So that's just one of our campaigns. So it's Love Not Blood campaign, which Families United for Justice is a part of us in the work that we do as far as one of our campaigns concerned. And it centers mainly around conferences, and we titled that Healing Through Resistance.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, there, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And your work is known throughout the country, and we thank you for all the great work that you do. Brother BJ mentioned the announcement that Governor Newsom appointed you to the accountability board. How do you feel about that? How did you receive that, given the mission that you and your lovely wife and your organizations are dedicated to?
Well, I mean, I just felt that it was necessary for those of us who have been impacted to, be at the table and to do the work that we can while we're at that table to bring about that real systemic change that we're fighting for. And so, of course, 14 years later, here we are now, here I am now, not without the help of my wife, of course, being selected to be a part of a piece of legislation that we worked so hard to get passed. And now to be able to sit on that, just back up really quick, that legislation that we passed, Senate Bill 2, or SB 2, Decertification of Police Officers, was a very important bill to us because we know Joanne Smedley, who murdered Oscar Grant, my nephew, should have been decertified before Oscar was murdered. He had 8 complaints, use of force complaints filed against him before Oscar was murdered. And, of course, without any action taken, without decertifying him, without addressing his issue concerning young black men, he goes on to murder Oscar Grant. So, this journey has been really real for me, extremely important, and, hoping to be a part of bringing real systemic change so that no other family have to suffer the harm from a police officer that we know should be decertified or no longer working for a policing agency nowhere in this country.
Because as you mentioned, and at least in my view, normally the people who should be at the table aren't always at the table. In Chicago, it happens all the time, especially when things are happening in the community and the community is calling for participation, community participation agreements and that kind of thing. So did you see this as being somewhat unusual that you were invited to be a part of it? It was well deserved, of course, but how did you view it happening at this time? Was it somewhat unusual, or did it just go along with a natural occurrence to be included as a community member?
Well, I tell you, since Oscar was murdered, I've always been in the process of doing something to bring some systemic change. And, and of course, being a part of the initial introduction to working to reform a system or change a system that has been detrimental to us, it started with 1586, the Citizen Oversight with an Independent Auditor, oversight committee that we were able to get passed. And from that journey, of course, I, worked with various coalitions throughout the state of California to get other pieces of legislation passed. And so being at the forefront, and when we brought SB 2 into existence, we brought it into existence with the hope that it would include impacted families. So the way it did pass, the board, the Peace Officer Standard Accountability Advisory Board consists of 9 members, right? And they are to be appointed by the governor and legislators. The board is composed of 1 current or former police officer with command experience, 1 current or former police officer with management rank, 2 members of the public with experience working at a nonprofit or academic institution, 2 members of the public with experience working with community-based organizations related to police accountability, 2 members of the public with strong consideration given to individual who has been subject to wrongful use of force likely to cause death or serious bodily injury by a peace officer, or who are a surviving family member of a person killed by a wrongful use of deadly force by a peace officer, and 1 attorney. And so we put that in intentionally with the hope that one of us that are impacted will actually be able to sit at that table and to ensure, at least work to ensure, that it's working the way we brought it into existence. And so, I praise Allah and thank Allah for Governor Newsom, because we've met several times through the process of me going back and forth to the state capitol but to recognize that I have been putting in this work and that I, always been fighting to be at the table and has been one with other families and coalitions throughout the state of California getting legislation passed so that we can stop this egregious act. And so, I won't say that I was surprised. It was expected that one of us be at that table, and I'm just thankful it's me.
Yes, sir. I was going to ask you about the composition, and now that you broke it down, it seems, seems very, very positive. I mean, you got 6 people from the public, 2 officers, and 1 attorney, if I'm correct in recounting what you said. So that's a positive thing to hear. Got two quick questions. Do you feel, I mean, despite everything that has occurred in terms of organizing organizing the board, that in the end is going to really have some teeth? The objectives that you put in forth to hold these police officers accountable or law enforcement officers accountable, that once you all make decisions that the teeth will really sink in?
Well, of course, that's always the challenge whenever a piece of legislation is passed, because we know, especially in the state of California, how the peace officers union fights for any change to occur. So, of course, I have some concerns, but I'm going to be optimistic, cautiously optimistic that we will have some teeth. It may not be a full mouth full of teeth like, our other guest speaker, who I think can speak, very knowledgeably to what I'm speaking about in the various other types of decertification boards that are set up throughout this country. Matter of fact, the brother Carlton Myers is actually from Chicago. And he wrote a very powerful op-ed concerning decertification, concerning the, of course, Chicago Police Department. But going back to it, there are some concerns, because one of the concerns is when the Internal Affairs does an investigation on an officer, and right now, because we already have 3,500 officers that are going to be looked at as being decertified, our workload has been, the post-workload, and then, of course, our starting officially on December 14th is already overwhelmed. So there's conversations that I'm reading and hearing that some of those investigations are going to be done by the Internal Affairs. Now, we know what happens when an Internal Affairs investigating an officer. Normally, they don't sustain any claims. The officer gets off. He might get a suspension, but he goes back to work, and eventually, as we know, many cases, they kill again. And so, yes, I'm going to be, again, cautiously optimistic that we will have some bite power, but ultimately, as I was speaking to Carlton and listening to him, there's still some other maneuvers we're going to have to put into this board or this legislation to even make the bite harder.
If that makes sense. Yes, sir, it makes sense. It does, because that's what we're always looking at. We'll get to Mr. Mayor in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, you mentioned, even in terms of accountability, the officer that shot Oscar, I think his name was Johannes. Even when he was sentenced, I don't look at his sentence as even accountability or even the charge that they brought. But I guess that's another tale. I was reading one of the articles, and of course it mentioned a press release that was put out by Governor Newsom. But I was kind of curious about, because in the next sentence it mentioned that it mentions your name, and then it says a Democrat. And I was just curious of this is minor probably, but to me I'm saying, okay, well, why is that thrown in there? Was that thrown into the governor's press release and they're just recounting it, or is this the reporter, bringing up, they could have said, they could have said Johnson, an activist, or freedom fighter, whatever, but they said a Democrat, and I just raised something in my antenna.
I mean, it did the same to me because I saw it behind my name, but then I also saw it behind everybody else's name that was selected. So that emphasizes the fact that I guess all the board members are Democrats, you know, is a subliminal call out, you know, I guess giving some credos to, you know, our governor, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and making sure he selects Democrat folks, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was just curious about that, man. It just kind of popped up like unexpectedly there.
I know.
You know, okay.
I'm like, where'd that come from?
I know, that's exactly what I thought. We want to bring Brother Mayor in, but Brother BJ, is anything you want to bring up before we bring our other distinguished guests on?
No, sir. No, sir. We want to hear from Mr. Mayor now.
Mr. Mayor.
That
right.
certification. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Brother Mayor, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. How are you today?
Oh, I'm well. You sound a bit low on your end, but okay, I'm well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Okay, now I hear you. Now I hear you.
I had to switch headpieces. It sounds like you're traveling, so we'll try to make it quick. But can you just give us a little background on yourself? We know you wrote an op-ed about these certifications, and we want to get into that. But before we do, just give us a little background about yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I apologize. Yeah, I'm driving into New York City, and I know it's raining on the road, so it's all right. But yeah, my name is Carlton T. Mayers II, Esquire. I'm a national public safety and policing reform expert, and I work with communities across the country. And when I say communities, I mean community members, I mean law enforcement, I mean state and local lawmakers, I mean the local media, I also mean private business. So essentially, I work with all of the key public safety stakeholders in every community across this country on breaking out of their silos so that they can start working together instead of separately on solving public safety challenges, right? And when I say public safety challenges, I don't only mean community violence and reckless driving. I also mean police accountability, right? And so what I really focus on is an approach that I developed called the Community Empowerment Centered Approach, which is implemented through the CAP method. C stands for Community Empowerment, A stands for Accountability, and T stands for Transparency. So essentially the crux of it is that community members, especially those individuals who are living in what I call neighborhoods of intersectionality, meaning that these are neighborhoods where you have both high levels of crime and also a history of high levels of negative police interaction, like racial profiling, excessive use of force, sexual misconduct, etc. Those community members especially need to be involved in, need to have knowledge of, and need to have meaningful decision-making authority over all direct police-civilian interaction, like stops, arrests, uses of force, surveillance technology, the way protests are handled, etc. And the reason for this is because the people closest to the problems are also the people closest to the solutions. So we need to make sure, just as we've been talking about with Mr. Johnson, Uncle Bobby, you know, now being on this post commission where he now has some say over officers who've been accused of misconduct to determine if they should keep their ability, being their certification, their license, to be able to be a police officer in the state of California, or if that should be taken away from them, which means now the best that they could be is a civilian employee at a police department, okay? So you're stripping them away of the ability to arrest people, from the ability to patrol with a firearm and receive all those protections under police union contract, under U.S. Supreme Court law, and most importantly, the ability to transfer from one law enforcement agency to another, which is something that we've seen time and time again in the past with Mike Brown, the officer that killed him, Darren Wilson. He was what we call the wandering officer, meaning that he was engaging in accountability at different police departments. When he would be caught and investigated at one, he would just resign and then go to another police department, do the same thing, get caught, be investigated, then he would resign, and then go to another police department without any accountability. The same thing with the officer who killed Eric Gardner in New York City, former officer Pelatineo, whatever his name is. But yeah, that guy. And then even more recently, with the officer who killed Breonna Taylor, in Louisville, Kentucky. Even though, we know that he was his bullets that killed her, he was never held liable. And then he just got fired, went over to another police department adjacent to Louisville. And now, what is he doing? He's once again being prosecuted for engaging in misconduct. He is a wandering officer. So what I'm trying to say is that if we don't put directly impacted people, like Uncle Bobby, into these positions where they can now determine real accountability, then we are only going to see the same things over and over. We're going to see a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches instead of stitches for something that needs stitches. So that's what I do, is I work on how do we get those stitches and make sure that the stitches are custom tailored for that community. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It has to be custom tailored for that community.
Yeah, you mentioned like the three examples, and we know there are more because it's happening far too often. How often is it happening that they are being held accountable? How many decertifications that you know of in terms of actual have occurred, or is this something that is, from what I read, more and more civilian review boards and other oversight boards? But how often, presently, are we seeing any kind of action going to decertify police officers so that they can no longer hold a post that allows them to come under a badge?
Well, number one, it doesn't happen often enough, and it varies by state, because each state at this point, this is actually kind of new, that all 50 states have their own post commission, which is the Peace Officer Standards and Trainings Commission. That's essentially and it could be called something different by state, but that's essentially the state entity that's responsible for all certifications and licensing for all police officers in that state, which means that they're also responsible for revoking that license, or what we call decertification. Now, that's all new ever since the 2020 protests. There have been, I think, at least 40 or 45 states that have passed comprehensive policing reform legislation into law, including California and including Illinois. And each one of those states, for the most part, they had some legislative language in that law that relates to decertification and certification of law enforcement, and reinforcing that language if it did not already exist. And so now we're starting to see more states on a national level decertifying officers, but the numbers are still low, and I'm going to tell you why right now. It's because of the process, right? You got to focus, in my opinion, more on the process, more on the how, rather than on what, right? Which is rather than on the outcome. And so the process that is typically used to decertify law enforcement is that either the police chief or the sheriff, they're the only two entities that are able to actually file what we call a notice of violation of certification. That's essentially a complaint filed with the post commission to then start investigating that officer to begin the decertification process. Now, more recently over the years, I'd say ever since 1968 with the state of Kansas, that was really the first state that allowed for civilians, people that are not, chiefs or sheriffs, to be able to file a notice of violation of certification directly with their post commission. In the 1970s, there were a couple of other states, or a few others, and then years later, and especially after 2020, we now have more states. Even in Massachusetts in 2021, they passed a state law where their post commission that's newly created consists of majority civilians who do not have a law enforcement background. I believe it's like 9 civilians, and I think then there's like an additional 3 that are law enforcement background, but they're only there in an advisory role. And so, it's becoming a big deal now to actually have not only civilian representation, but also to allow civilians to report directly to the post commission about a notice of violation of certification. So, I do think that as more and more civilians, community members, become aware, like in Illinois, of the state law that allows them to do this now, that we will start seeing more civilians filing these complaints and hopefully start seeing an increase in decertifications happening around the country.
So once they file the complaint, and Uncle Bobby can jump in on any of this that we're talking about. Once they file a complaint, it goes to, who does it go to in most cases? What authority does it go to? I file a complaint. The citizen files the complaint to the, what kind of office would that be, and who is it that takes that complaint?
Do you want me to answer or Uncle Bobby?
Yes, sir. I'm asking you. No, you.
Oh, me. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Once they file the complaint, it goes directly to the post commission. Now, different post commissions are set up differently.
Okay, because I'm curious about what is there. Is that like referring it up to the FOP? What is their, mission? Who are they aligned with? The authority that looks at this.
Right. So there's two pieces I want to just flesh out. One is that the representation of the post commission typically are people that are former law enforcement, former judges, and or former prosecutors, right? So these are individuals that, tend to have a more tough on crime response rather than a community centered response. And so that's one thing. The other thing to highlight is that another thing that results in a limit on who gets decertified is the fact that not all state laws have a broad scope of eligibility. A lot of states, they only provide for certain felonies that if an officer is charged with, or if they're convicted of, or plead guilty to, or nolo contender, meaning that they're saying, I'm not guilty or innocent, I'm not going to say anything. If that were to happen, then that's when they can be decertified. But if it were to be a misdemeanor, like violent offense or sexual offense, then that would not fall under the scope of eligibility of decertification. Now, I just want to say, because we are in Illinois, that Illinois, after the Safety Act, which I did work with the Legislative Black Caucus on drafting the language of the policing reform, including decertification for the state of Illinois and the Safety Act, that actually is one of the best state laws in the country when it comes to decertification, because it does provide for any felony and certain misdemeanors that are violence related or sexual related can make an officer in the state of Illinois eligible to lose their license. Also, real quick, just last thing, is that also in the Safety Act, it also provides that if an officer engages in actions that are not necessarily criminal in nature, but that are still considered unethical, like lying, being affiliated with a hate group, right, or tampering with body-worn camera or dash cam footage, that can also get you decertified. That's a big deal when we're talking about police accountability.
Yeah, and if BJ has anything to jump in, but is decertification, is that like on a federal level, or, I mean, is it any way somebody can get around the decertification? You get decertified, is there any kind of way they can creep back in somewhere in a law enforcement capacity, become an enforcement officer in some capacity again?
Well, okay, so you're saying like after they've been decertified?
Yes.
Oh, Bobby, you want to take it?
Well, of course, I'm not going to know enough of that, but I was going to just say this in the state of California, just based on my understanding of our SB2, right? The employing agency of the peace officer must report any allegation of serious misconduct to post, right? That, again, triggers this possible decertification process. But in addition to that, right, it can also be triggered by a civilian oversight body, a sustained deposition of an internal affairs investigation. It could be triggered by a civil judgment or settlement based on alleged serious misconduct. So, those are some of the ways that the triggering of possible decertification of an officer can happen in the state of California.
Yes,
but I think Carlton would be better equipped to answer that last question you just posed.
Yeah, because Uncle Bobby, because my particular question was, let's say I'm an officer, I do something terrible, I get decertified in the Illinois or whatever, Chicago police. does that certification become known like on a federal level, national, that anytime I apply for some type of law enforcement position, that it pops up and says his license has been taken away, and that I can no longer hold a post if it's in some backwoods city? Is it that kind of penalty on it, or can I get around it by taking another course and reapplying for a license?
I think, I'll definitely let Carlton finish. But so if you get decertified in the state of California, you can no longer be employed in any policing agency in the state of California. So that means there is a state database that's going to hold the records of officers that has been decertified. And I hope that there's a requirement on every agency that is hiring a person or a previous law enforcement officer that they review that database to make sure that they're not in it. Now, let's say the officer leaves the state of California and goes to New York. Now, I'm not sure if there's federal requirements that the New York agency that is potentially going to hire this officer is required to check national database, and I don't think there's one that exists, but check a national database if there was, whether the officer actually has been decertified. So then the question becomes, is it possible that he could go to New York and be hired? I mean, with my limited knowledge at this moment in time, it almost appears that he can, because I know officers have left New York, came to Oakland, and killed again, and this is before we even begin to really talk about decertification. And the reason why they get hired like that is because a policing agency is in need of officers, so they're less equipped or less tempted to really investigate an officer to see what kind of history. They bring him on board, and then we find out he kills again, or he's done got some use of force complaint filed against him, and then they find out this history, like we did with officers coming from New York. So, I mean, yeah.
Or even if there's a database, or a requirement that the hiring agency must check their check. Like if he's in New York, it's required that they check his previous state that he's coming out of. If that's not in existence, that's also somewhat of a loophole. So that's why I was asking.
Robert, can you hear Carlton respond to that?
Yeah. So okay. So there's a couple of things to that. One is that there is what they call a national database called the NDI. So that N like Nancy, DI. That stands for National Decertification Index, and that is monitored and updated by an international organization called, I forgot the exact name of it, but the acronym is I, like the letter, like the word it, A like Apple, IADLEST is essentially the acronym, IDLES or IDLES. So they've been in operation for quite some time now. The problem is, even President Obama's 21st Century Policing Task Force report recommendations that were published in 2015, they have a whole section dedicated to decertification, the IADLEST, where it talks about how the National Decertification Index needs to be utilized more, and there needs to be more centralization, where you have each state post commission submitting their decertification list to the National Decertification Index. So that way it's all located on a national database. Now, the only problem is that the IADLEST and the NDI are under-resourced. And so that was another part of the recommendations, was for the federal government to provide more resources to the entity in that database, so that they would have what they need to be the infrastructure and capacity to be able to update and monitor that list. Now, the good news is this, though. That was 2015. Here we are, 8 years later? We had the 2020 protests, and like I said earlier, there's been at least 40 states across the country that have passed comprehensive policing reform legislation into law that heavily focuses on decertification and certification. Now, a part of a number of those states' laws that passed ever since 2020 was that not only requiring that officers that are decertified are placed on a list, a database that would be made public in that state. Like Illinois has that, for instance, with the Safety Act. It does provide on the Post Commission's website, called the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, LSB, to have a list, a database of all officers that are under investigation for decertification, and then a separate database for just officers that have been decertified. Okay. Now that you can look that up right now. It's on the website for everybody to see. Now, this is the thing. It's not required under the Safety Act like it is in some other states. I want to say possibly Massachusetts or possibly Colorado, that in addition to having a database that's public, also require that their state post commissions report those decertifications to the National Decertification Index to be included on that national database. Now, there's a number of states that are also requiring that. So that's something that when we talk about future legislation in states like Illinois, maybe even California, that's something that can be added to those existing laws, is to now require that those databases are now reporting to the National Decertification Index.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, sir. Brother Bobby, Uncle Bobby, on your case with the officer, how you say his last name? Mercilessly?
Johannes Mercilessly. Yeah, Johannes Mercilessly.
Mercilessly. They did reopen the case to see what further could be done, as I understand it. Anything come of that? I read where they tried to reopen the case.
Right. So no, we did get it reopened. So actually, it's a two-part to that. So maybe about 3 years ago, our district attorney Nancy O'Malley did reopen the case for further investigation. However, she also concluded after about a 9-month investigation that they could not pursue any more charges, not so much against Johannes Mercilessly. The reopening of our case centered around Tony Peroni, who actually put his knee on Oscar's neck, pushing his face through the concrete floor, cracking the bones in his face. Tony Peroni also is the one that used a racial epithet 3 times, right, before he threw Oscar to the ground, because we alleged that we thought it should have been a hate crime in the language that he used in the process of throwing Oscar to the ground. He is the same one that also initially pulled the young man off the train, punched Oscar, kneed Oscar's all on video, of course, spoke in a very egregious and belligerent way to Oscar, and yet he escaped prosecution. And part of the reason why he escaped prosecution is because at that time we were so naive. The district attorney said they wanted to use him for state evidence to get Johannes Mercilessly. And so the whole focus was Johannes Mercilessly when really it should have included Tony Peroni. So now Tony Peroni, after he was fired, he then went into the military, stayed in the military about 6 years. And when he came back to the United States is when they really made sure he was fired, because he went through the arbitration procedure to get his job back. But he had committed unemployment fraud in the state of California, so they was able to legally fire him. Otherwise, he would have got his job back. So we have been arguing and chasing him for years. They reopened it, and Nancy O'Malley felt that they could not get felony murder charges on him, but what they could have charged him for was an assault, a battery, or whatever it was called. I forget exactly. But the statute of limitation ran out, so they dropped the case. Then State Attorney General Rob Bonta said that he would reopen the case for further investigation. It was more to us a political move on his part because we're still awaiting his final decision on the so-called investigation that they're doing. But, yes, the case was reopened not on Johannes Mercilessly, but on Tony Peroni, who assisted Mercilessly in killing Oscar on that platform.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Okay. Uncle Bobby, I want to ask you a question. Okay, we got Uncle Bobby on the line, y'all. Uncle Bobby Johnson out of Oakland, California. He's just been appointed by Gavin Newsom, governor of California, to be on the Police Accountability Board, and we're also joined by an expert on decertifying police officers, Mr. Carlton Mayer. And I wanted to say to you, brother, this is a very wonderful opportunity for you to represent the families that you've been representing all this time, the families that have been suffering, seeking justice. When you were appointed, I know all the people that you've been helping flashed in your mind. Tell me, what is your definite chief aim when you start this job? And if you could tell the people back home what you plan on doing and making your voice count on this board, what would you say to them?
Well, of course, first, we got to get to the table. And now that I'm at the table, it's not just going to it's not just going to happen. It's going to not only take me utilizing my voice, but it's going to take a lot of support from the community and those that feel that, like I do, that they should also be involved. And so ultimately, the essence behind this is accountability. And to be moving in that direction, to hold officers accountable, whether it be through the certification, of course, taking the leap to qualified immunity, because we know that's a major hurdle to overcome. But again, being cautiously optimistic, I believe it's 4 states that actually have gotten rid of qualified immunity. And as, of course, Brother Carlton talked about, there's a few states that have tied their decertification to qualified immunity, and it works in various ways. So to never give up hope, to continue fighting, because, we've been doing this for 14 years, and as we could say, going on 15 years, but as I can say, sadly, it seems like more of us are still dying, and nothing is happening, and so, I'm not taking a pessimistic view about this, because my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren is dependent on me standing up today and really working to bring real systemic change, because if I fail today, it'll be their demise tomorrow. So, my hope is that it begins to happen all over the country. And as I develop this relationship with Brother Carlton, what I've learned is that, I think he said Massachusetts, they got 9 civilians on the post-commission. That's huge. So that community involvement that he talked about is serious, because I think, it's my belief that until we're actually a part of this process in bringing about the change, nothing will never change. So I cracked the door. I kicked the door open, just like Oscar kicked the door open. He was joined as rescue, the first officer in the state of California to ever be arrested, charged, convicted, and sent to jail. That was the first time. And since he's been arrested, I think 4 other officers, it's sad there's only been 4 after all these years, but 4 other officers have been basically, I know 1 or 2 have been convicted and 2 others are charged and waiting trial. So it's happening. That change is occurring in the state of California. I think it's happening on a national level. And I think, with people like Brother Carlton and, others like myself, that is about really bringing about this change, is doing the work to make it happen, getting the community involved, so
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask one more question, Brother James D., real quick to Mr. Carlton. When you talked about the certified officers and the ones that were involved in some of the most heinous killings of black people and police brutality in the last couple of years, is there some kind of data that we could do some research on, and some of these killings of black people, could we find out that most of these officers have been decertified and they went to another police department and to get a job, and they ended up killing black people with impunity because there weren't no checks and balances because of the corruption?
I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody at a university somewhere in the U.S. Doing that level of research. The problem is that not all states like Illinois provide their decertification database, publicly. And so it would only be available to police chiefs and sheriffs because they're the ones responsible for hiring, right, and firing of officers in their agencies. So, there really is, in my opinion, and like I said, there might be some universities who are, taking the data from places like Illinois where those databases are public and then actually tracking them. They're probably also cross-referencing that data with officers that are placed on the National Decertification Index to see if there's any correlation with officers being on that index and still, getting jobs in other states where they're not decertified, even though they've been decertified in a previous state. So, I just don't know of that data. But something I can say real quick is that, when it comes to states, providing their decertification data to the National Decertification Index, I did recently learn that the Biden administration has been incentivizing post commissions to provide that data, or states to provide that data to the National Decertification Index through federal grant money that's provided for public safety issues. And so what I've been told is that all states, except for one at this point, are now providing their decertification data to the federal government to go on the National Decertification Index. And that one state that's not doing it is, of course, the maverick state, the state of Arizona. They choose to not take the money so that they're not conditioned to have to provide that data on the National Decertification. So at this point, we are getting to what I'm trying to say is that George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all those deaths that led to the 2020 movement, it has led to some big change, like long lasting, not short term. But the problem is that people in the community, we don't realize the power that we have now because of that change. Right. And so that's why it's important that, like, not only the op-ed, but also other op-eds, other people that are getting out there talking about decertification, like Uncle Bobby, right? We need to make sure that that all gets uplifted, because at this point, like in Chicago, we're hearing about 100 officers, have been found to have lied, and they're still on the Chicago Police Department. Right. Well, everybody's saying, including civilian oversight, what are we going to do? We can't go to like internal disciplinary hearings because of arbitration now, and what else? The criminal liability is out the window for some of them. Civil liability is out the window. Well, guess what? You can still file the decertification because decertification is independent from criminal, civil, and internal disciplinary action. So no matter what those other avenues of accountability, what those decisions are, the decertification process still goes forward on its own. So somebody can not be held criminally liable, not be held civilly liable, and not be fired, but they can still lose their license to be a police officer in that state.
Brother Mayor,
Brother Nabas back on. Brother,
okay, real quick.
Yeah, Brother Nabas wants to come back in, Brother James G.
Okay. Well, okay, go ahead. There you go.
Brother Nabas.
Yes, I'm like, Brother James, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't break your...
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's been a great interview. But on Uncle Bobby and Brother Gabe answered to part of this question. We see these victories like the victory of creating this accountability panel. But that took work. So, Uncle Bobby, when you're looking at the work that you are doing and the work of this panel, are there any things that come to mind that Black media, Black churches, Black organizations, Black people need to do specifically to support what you're trying to do in California? Because it's going to be a fight. At a certain point, some legislators are going to attack it. The media is likely to attack it. And we know the police union is already attacking it.
Yes. So was that a question? I'm definitely in agreement with you about the attack.
Yeah. The question was, are there any things that come to your mind that we should be doing right now or getting prepared to do to support the work that you're going to do and the work that this panel is intended to do?
What you're doing right now, having this conversation with myself and, of course, Brother Carlton, so those ears that are listening to this show, Black Talk Radio, and hearing and getting a better understanding of this power behind decertification and how it can work and the process behind it. Like, for instance, I know in the state of California, there's much more that don't know that you can actually file a decertification, to post the corruptness of a particular officer that have lied, committed some form of use of force, even a shooting, involved in a shooting, what have you, directly to post. And so that opens the window or triggers that investigation for decertification. So that's a good thing, because many of us just go straight to internal affairs. And, a lot of that stuff, as we know, get buried or not properly investigated. The officers usually get off, and it keeps us discouraged and wondering, well, how can we hold the officers accountable when it don't even appear that the agency cares about what they do? So, of course, we got to let the community know that there's avenues, and what I'm hoping to believe, that we have some more power to make sure that these officers are decertified. But in addition to that, gives us the ability now to start looking at how to attack qualified immunity, so that officers can also be sued directly for these murderous acts that they commit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
All right,
got about 4 minutes left. Go ahead, brother.
That's Uncle Bobby X Johnson.
Yeah.
Don't forget
right.
that.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. Don't forget the X.
He for real, for real. Don't forget that.
That's right.
Hey, brother, can I just real quickly, I wanted to ask this right along the lines of what you all have been saying, and brother can give a quick answer. Brother Mayor, in terms of filing the complaint for decertification, is it the simple fact that somebody on that board just needs to file it? Because, like you said, if that's all they have to do, you don't have to answer it, but I'm just saying, like, what's preventing them from doing that? If it's just a simple thing of, you can just go right to them and make that filing. I don't know if you have enough time to answer, but I just wanted to put that out there, and hopefully.
Yeah. So you mean like for a civilian to file it?
Yes. Or
yeah, and so
members of the board.
One of the members of the Post Commission?
Yes. Yes.
So
we got about 1 minute to there, Brother Carlton.
Gotcha. All right. So the Post Commission would not file it. It would have to either be a police chief, a sheriff, or in states that allow for it, a civilian or civilian review board or a prosecutor.
So our civilian review board can deal with that. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Definitely. You're welcome.
And thank you all for being on. Go ahead, BJ.
Brothers, thank y'all so much. Thank you, Uncle Bobby X Johnson. Thank you, big brother, for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Carlton Maya. Thank you so much. We got to have y'all back on to follow up on this. Congratulations to you, Brother Bobby.
I appreciate it. Thank you, too. Much love.
Much love
Thank
to
you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, thank y'all. All right.
Okay.
Listen, we got about 1 minute left in the show. Any closing words there, Brother James G?
Cash App. Well, that's my closing announcement. What is it? Cash App. Straight words,
that's right? Cash App. $ straight words. $ straight words on Cash App. $ straight words on Cash App. Make a donation. Zelle 312-480-9775. 312-480-9775. And on PayPal, straight words, the number 4 @gmail.com.